We're back. Wait,
I don't know why I was playing it twice. That was really weird, huh?
I only played it once on my end.
I only saw it once.
Yeah, I did too.
Things must be weird, but the whole Roswell thing must be going nuts over there or something in New Mexico.
Saxon must be down there.
Or UFO.
Okay, it seems like it stopped. That was weird. Could you guys not hear that?
No.
Oh.
It was weird. It was like looping. The sound was looping and looping and looping through.
You sure it's not your medication?
Did you have mushrooms on your burrito today, or
maybe? My brother gave me some New Mexico honey with THC in it. Maybe I downed the whole thing when I wasn't paying attention.
Oh gosh!
I haven't even broken into it. But
hey, we have a couple of new people here. Xander Harden. He might be our youngest listener. He's like 15, I think.
Nice.
Member of the family.
So then you guys need to watch your mouths then. Jeez.
You got the young and then you got old.
Oh well, if you knew Xander's dad, Larry, you would just probably say, yeah, whatever. Well, although Xander used to have a swear jar for Steph, and I think he made $8 million at one point in time. What
was that one word you said that one time that you said you didn't say?
I did not say that word. I don't care. I will go to my grave with that statement. I did not say that word.
What was the word you did? What was the word you did say?
Juxtaposition was what I was saying, and somebody said that, or no, multiplicity.
Multiplicity. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So what rhymes with multiplicity? You guys get it. All right. Hey, welcome to the Metal Roundtable, episode number 245. And today we are talking about live albums. But before we get into that, we may have a few shout outs. I do. So I'm going to start off because I wanted to show this and say that we lost a couple of metal legends this week. Joshua Pariah, who obviously who played guitar in the band Joshua, passed away this past week. This is just one of many albums that he put out. And yep, that's the next one. So Joshua Pariah, total guitar shredder. I mean, he's like a Yngwie and Paul Terry style shredder, but he was a really good songwriter, and everything was very melodic. And this album has Rob Rock singing on it. One of the other albums had who else sang for Joshua? You guys remember? Besides Rob Rock, there was Ken Tamplin sang on one, and Jeff Fenholt sang on the one. And he's got more than 3 albums out. And then of course we also lost, I believe yesterday or day before yesterday, we lost Paul Di'Anno. Paul Di'Anno, the original, Iron Maiden vocalist.
So frighteningly enough, I thought he was older, but he's just a year older than I am. So
well, technically he was like the 13th singer for Iron Maiden, but
he was just the first one to record. Anyway. Yeah. And so anyway, I just pulled a couple of the live albums since that he was on because we're talking about live albums today. I've always loved this Japanese one, Live Plus One. That's all I need. These are both just EPs, but
I've talked about Di'Anno as a kid. The Di'Anno albums were my least favorite, and now they're really the main ones I listen to. They've become
those are what I grew up with.
Yeah,
they're
almost. I got into them in '87 with Seventh Son of the Seventh Son.
I turned a friend of mine onto the first 4 Maidens, and it wasn't until like 5 years ago he wanted to sell some, and those were the same 4 albums I rebought back from him.
Yeah, they were almost proggy. They had a little bit of a prog feel to them, more hard rock than heavy metal per se. And then I think once Bruce joined them, and they were a little more metal, as they say. But I really dig those first 2.
I do too. I always thought they kind of had a bit of, and I know the band would argue with you till they're blue in the face, but I kind of thought the first 2 albums had a bit of a punk edge to them as well.
Yeah,
especially in Di'Anno's vocal delivery, which I loved. I mean, it wasn't all that different from a lot of the other new wave of British heavy metal bands like Tank and, Motorhead and Girl School. All those bands kind of had that, that kind of.
It was certainly an original. It was more of an original sound than we had heard back then.
Yep, definitely.
And Evo, I got to ask a question. Is that a Russian version of Sticky Fingers in the background there?
No. Funny enough. Go ahead.
You talk about that one, right? That blue one?
Yes.
That is right there. That's Too Fast for Love. That's the Leather Records edition.
Oh, wow.
So what happened is Motley Crue just did a 3-show tour of the Sunset Strip. And for each show, they did a different color pressing of the Leather Records debut. So they only did 200 per show. They sold them for like 50 or $60 per show, but I was lucky enough to get a hold of one. That one's from the Roxy. They played the Troubadour. And what's the third?
The Rainbow?
No, not the Rainbow. Why am I drawing a blank? The Troubadour and the other real big one.
Nah, I know.
Well, it wouldn't be Gazzari's because they closed years ago.
No, yeah. Anyway, so there's only 600 of them. They're already going for like $300 or $400. It's crazy.
Crazy stuff.
What's that?
Of course they are.
It's crazy what people demand, you know. Or
well, I mean, it's Motley Crue, and everybody wants that Leather Records pressing. It's a completely different mix, and there's some really cool differences between that and the final release.
It also has an extra song on it that wasn't on the Electra version.
I've always wanted the leather pressing though, and I was stupid and didn't buy them when they were like $80 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, the whiskey. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't get that out. The whiskey was the third one, but it's like green, blue, and yellow. I think each one's a different, and the vinyl matches the album covers. So
that's cool.
But they did 200 for each club, and I was lucky enough to get that one. But,
what's your address again?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Right on. You guys, anybody else? I know we got to get into your picks of the week, but does anybody have any shout outs before we do that?
Nope.
No, I'm good here. Wow.
No, cool. Then
it was kind of short notice. I had to rush to get these albums, so we're set.
Cool. So why don't we get into it then? The picks of the week. John, we still need that. We need an explosion.
Yeah, I'm still working on it, but you know what? Next week I'll be out in the middle of I'll be in the Dominican Republic, and I will be banging my head and celebrating with Barney Greenway and Carcass and Napalm Death and Exodus and Lamb of God and
celebrating with veggies.
Yeah, we'll be having a
Lamb of God. I'm sorry,
good old time.
Aren't they all vegans? The guys from Carcass?
No, well, not sort of. I'll just say sort of.
How much did they have? How much did they have?
Barney is legit. Barney from Napalm is legit. He's a vegan. But anyway, so yes, after that, I will work on the explosion for the pick of the week. All right. Well, so I went into a record store and they were playing this album, and I said, you know what? That's near masterpiece level. And so that's going to be my rock and roll pick of the week. The Allman Brothers Band, the first album.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I don't think they ever put out a bad record. And yeah, it's Southern rock, it's jam music, it's whatever, but this is actually an original Capricorn pressing, and it sounds great. But man, I'm telling you right now, I sort of overlooked this band a little bit because they got lumped into the Southern rock thing, and how many times can you listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd? But the Allman Brothers are just kind of they are their own band. So anyway, that's my pick of the week. The Allman Brothers' first album, or any of their albums, and I guess we could have called Eat a Peach. Isn't that a live album?
It's half live, half studio.
Half live, half okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, and then my metal pick of the week. They were kind enough to send me a shirt. Anybody want to take a try at the logo?
Bronx.
Nah, don't worry. You're never going to get it. Starts with an O. They're Oramet. They're like a funeral doom, proggy death metal band, a la Tomb Mold, Blood Incantation, whatever. But anyway, they sent me a tape and a shirt and a sticker. This is a 3-song EP. It's really awesome. Long epic songs, sweeping high, but man, this thing is just so good. If I didn't have Blood Incantation, this would shoot to straight to the top. So this is a close number 2, but that, as Steve-O said last week, the Blood Incantation absolute elsewhere. It's
I'm seeing it everywhere. I just saw another review pop up.
It's a masterpiece.
I see it everywhere too.
I can't wait till the record, the vinyl comes in, and then the like I said, I got the Blu-ray book with the pictures and the art and then the live show and what have you. So those are my 2 picks of the week. Metal pick Oramet, the EP, their first EP and then the Allman Brothers' first album. Can't argue with
Right
it.
on.
Nope.
Let's
Let's talk live albums. Gee,
Let's
I wonder
talk
if
live
anyone's
albums,
going
exactly.
to suggest Deep Purple, Made in Japan. I'm just kidding.
I actually
have that one pulled.
I actually picked some of the ones that I've been listening to recently, not necessarily my favorites, because I mean I'm sure everybody's going to be like, yeah, he's going to pick Ted Nugent, Double Live Gonzo, and he's going to pick Kiss Alive, and yeah, so I went ahead and I pulled some ones outside of that. So let's get into it. We'll just go clockwise, and we'll start with you, John, since you're already chatting,
Okay.
and I'll
Well,
solo you for a minute so you can show it.
Okay. Well, this is probably something that not very many people know. I just showed Deep Purple Made in Japan because I think that's probably top of the list for a lot of people. But Toxic Holocaust, Conjure in Command.
Nice.
The album, the cover was controversial. This is a Sawblade, Daniel Sawblade Shaw out of Houston. Joel wanted something more metal looking. He wanted black and white. They wanted color, and I stacked the logo, and so this is a different logo for them. And the back is just as incredible if you haven't seen it or don't own it, but it's just amazing. But anyway, the European version has a live album, and it's Toxic Holocaust live in London, and it comes with a full set. It's 45 minutes long, 20 minutes aside, and it's become one of my favorite live albums because Joel, to his credit, I don't know if he ever puts out a bad song. I had some videos, some bootleg videos live in South America and whatever, but he just and on those albums, or on that album, he just went down and picked up 2 guys from Whip Striker, the bass player and the guitarist and the drummer, and just said, "Hey, let's go do some gigs." And they toured all of South America, Central America, and it sounds like Toxic Holocaust because, of course, it's Joel's songs and he's singing. But anyway, Toxic Holocaust live in London, but you have to buy it as part of the Conjure in Command British import.
Nice.
So he already mentioned. Oh, go ahead. He already mentioned the Made in Japan, but I pulled this one just because I have the Japanese version, which is
I do have that version too. Doesn't that have all 3 sessions or all 2 sessions, or?
I don't think so. I think it was the same if I remember correctly.
It's not 3 records?
No, this one's only 2 records.
I think it's the Norwegian pressing that's 2 discs and it's all 3 nights.
But I have this one and I have the German pressing. But since you mentioned Allman Brothers, I pulled this one too because this is one of my all-time favorites. At the Fillmore.
Oh yeah,
yep, that's a classic.
That one out too.
That has all the great ones.
Yeah, I love Duane Allman is probably my favorite guitar player of all time, and I've got probably 10 other live albums with just him, just from his era.
Duane sounds awesome on "Loan Me a Dime" with Boz Scaggs.
He did so much stuff. I kicked myself for not buying it because it was $400, but they did a Duane Allman box set, and it's like 7 or 8 albums of just stuff he did with other people. There's no Allman Brothers. It's just stuff he recorded with other bands, and it's everything from R&B to hard rock to jazz. I mean, it's insane the breadth of work that he had. But and of course, I didn't buy it. Now it's like $2,000 for the box set. You know, so.
Well, not unlike some other great bands, but they have like a warehouse of influences and sounds and styles, so they can delve into just about anything: R&B, blues, rock, hard rock, whatever.
Well, that was the difference between them and a lot of the. I love Lynyrd Skynyrd. I think they've got one of the best guitar lineups of all time. You know, but they didn't have the same range of influences that Allman Brothers had, and I always liked them a little bit more.
Agreed.
You're up, Kevin.
I went with Blue Oyster Cult, On Your Feet or On Your Knees.
Can't go wrong there.
And I saw him on this tour here. And it was in Fargo. It was actually supposed to be a outdoor concert, and thunderstorms kind of rolled in and kind of moved it indoors. And that day it was like 98 degrees outside. So you move everybody inside. It was Baby, Royster Cult, and ZZ Top. And it was so hot in there. It was crazy. But I tell you what, they put on one hell of a laser light show in that with that On Your Feet or On Your Knees. I mean, this is a classic album. And
Yep.
it's got all the early great stuff, which I like mostly. And I mean, there's a lot more live albums out there, but this is probably my favorite of the live Blue Oyster Cults. I mean, Buck Dharma just shines on this. I mean, they all shine on this, but just a classic album.
Yep. Ooh,
Oh,
man.
That's final, but I couldn't find it.
Some of
Lost Steve for a second there.
some of the listeners are really dropping some bombs here. Sodom, Mortal Way of Live. That's Nanoy Padrawan. He's from the Philippines too, by the way. He's in Pagan Fire. Killer, Black and
Ryan
Thrash.
Roebuck, Death Live in Eindhoven.
That's another
Ryan's-
good one.
Ryan's from Motivik and Ritual Servant.
Right on.
And Shannon Fry from Avenger of Blood.
Oh, dude, and that EP rips.
All right, my turn.
Your
I've been
turn.
listening to this one. It's a newer release of an older concert, but this is Creator live at the Dynamo 1998. I just picked this up. I don't know. I don't know when it came out. Not that long ago, but I finally picked it up. It was actually been watching it on Amazon, and it ended up dropping under $20. So I snagged it while it was under $20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's fantastic. I also picked up, but so this is one I've been listening to. I like it a lot, but I love this thing here, and I have it on CD and vinyl. But it's an EP, obviously.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of studio tracks on there, including a cover of Raven's "Lambs of the Slaughter," which I always thought was fantastic. But this thing has like 6 or 7 live tracks on it on the CD.
Yeah.
The vinyl is weird because it depends on where you get it from. This particular vinyl has the 2 studio tracks on side A. Side B has the 3 live tracks: "Terrible Certainty," "Riot of Violence," and "Awakening of the Gods." But there's also a version that has a cover of what's the name of the band? Tigers of Pantang on it. And there's another version that has other live tracks on it. So there's several different versions of that EP floating around out there with different track listings on them. So, but that's the only one I have. I have it on CD and vinyl, but still pretty darn cool.
What was that?
One of my favorites.
What was that 2 or 3 album set that they released? I don't know, 15 years ago.
I just had it open. That contains. Yeah, I actually love that one too. It's the Live Creation.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
They also did Live in London too.
I also just picked this. I also got this in the mail. This is a 7-inch. This is Phobia, and it's State of Unrest tour, and then it's just a 2-track single. But then it came with a CD of the entire show from 3/7/23 in Manchester, UK.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know that when I bought the 7-inch.
Is that a label release or is that a boot? Somebody's.
Oh, it's definitely a boot. I've never seen this before.
Special pressing.
Yeah, it's definitely a special. It's definitely a fan club pressing. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Ooh, Slayer Decade
But
of
anyhow.
Aggression.
Yeah, let's put up some of the ones we still got. So yeah, Slayer.
Van Halen right here, right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got that on Laserdisc. Does that count for anything?
Of course it does.
Okay.
I wish Van Halen would have recorded a live album in like 1982.
There's a
1983.
there's a lot of bootleg stuff out there that actually sounds good.
Yeah, there
And-
is some good bootlegs. It's just a shame they didn't release an
our
official
buddy-
release when they were.
Yeah, an official
lot of
release
the-
would have been nice.
A lot
But
of the UFOs that are coming out live are really sound good.
yeah, I know Scott's got just about every one of them. Okay, speaking of sounding good, this is one of my all-time favorites. Hendrix,
Yes.
Band of Gypsies. But you know what else?
Part 2.
There's part 2.
Yeah.
And you really got to search for it. But it's got "Hear My Train a Comin'," "Foxy Lady," "Stop," "Voodoo Child," "Stone Free," and "Easy Rider," which I really dig. I love that song. But yeah, you got to buy both of them together. But and this came out years and years after in fact, it might have even been after his death. You know how people tend to sell more records after they die than when they're alive. Sometimes that's kind of strange. That's not a that's not a marketing trick at all.
Yeah,
But
Jimi Hendrix is one of those guys. I love his live stuff almost better than studio stuff.
I could have pulled. I probably have, and this is a terrible admission, but I probably have 100 Hendrix special pressings, bootlegs, live, whatever, live in Stockholm, radio broadcast, whatever, live at the Forum, and most of them are very, very listenable because he was really stripped down. There was really no trick to Hendrix. He was loud and he just played like nobody ever heard, and I love the original lineup, the experienced lineup with Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding. So I could have pulled a bunch, but I do like the Band of Gypsies. I think since it was a label release, can't go wrong there, especially with the second part of the show.
Yep. So we have Scorpions Worldwide Live, which we mentioned on last week's show, actually.
Yeah, we sure did. That was one of my picks of the week.
Damon Hair Metal picked No Sleep Till Hammersmith Motorhead. That's a good one. And then
no doubt.
We also got UFO Strangers in the Night, which I actually did. I wasn't going to show it as part of my picks, but I did pull the box set for it. Because I agree. It's it would rank in my top 5 for sure of live albums. I love this live album. And the box set's cool.
Wasn't it kind of weird though that the record and the CD had a different track order, and isn't that the big controversy there?
With which one?
With the Strangers in the Night. The
difference is the Strangers in the Night, the album, it's pulled from all those different shows. That box set is each individual show. So it's the actual show in the order it was recorded.
It also has the original LP in there too, or the original CD. But it has all the different shows it was pulled from. So it's everything that they used all to compile the one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's fantastic. But there's actually a few years ago when they released the CD, they actually put the songs in the order they played them in, and they added a couple songs that were cut out. So that was kind of a cool. I have that one as well. So that's one of my favorites. But anyhow, you're up. I
was going to show this anyway because somebody just mentioned it.
I had that one too.
You have that one too?
Oh, this is the box set, yeah.
Yeah, Unleashed in the East, and this actually has the 7-inch also with the extra songs on it.
Wow. Nice.
If you're going to listen to the Judas Priest Unleashed in the East, it might as well be a Japanese pressing, correct?
And Shannon said, "Unleashed Eastern Blood, Hail to Poland."
Oh, that's a good one too. Unleashed is they're an underrated band in my opinion. They're awesome, especially coming from basically an obscure true underground where you weren't looked at favorably if you were playing heavy metal.
Yeah. All right, you're up, Kevin.
This one comes from 2004, but it comes from a 70s band out of the UK, Streetwalkers.
Oh,
and
that's a good one. I didn't even know that one.
Came out in 2004. I mean, if you've listened to the Pink Fairies, Stray, bands like that from the UK, this is right in that general vicinity, hard rock, but kind of obscure to most people. A lot of people don't know about them. They have actually quite extensive library. Their first,
I was going to say they have like a dozen albums out, don't they?
Yeah, they got quite a few albums out. But like I say, this is their first live album, which, like I said, came out 2004, and it's on the Phonogram label. So. But I never ever see anybody show Streetwalkers at all. Killer band.
Yeah. Good, Steve.
So I'll show all these because a couple of these were already mentioned. But John brought up Hendrix. I had to pull a Hendrix, so I went ahead and pulled Isle of Wight.
Oh, that's a good one too.
That these have all been Japanese pressings so far. It's just the order I'm pulling in. But this is fantastic. Kind of hard to see. And since UFO was mentioned, I obviously pulled Stranger in the Night, but I also pulled this one because a lot of people don't have this one, and this is fantastic. This is where they're playing their earlier stuff, but they're playing it heavier than it was on the LP. So these have more of the sound that they were going to move into with the next album. So it's a really cool live album.
Show that CD again now that you're soloed, so we can. There you go. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that Isle of Wight show is killer too.
Whoops. I don't know how that happened. Sorry.
And now Steve disappeared.
No, he's back.
Yeah, the main one that I wanted to show, though, this is one that Scott showed. Man, probably like, when did you start your channel? 15 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever it was.
Something like that, yeah.
One of his early videos was his Molly Hatchet collection, and he showed this, and I spent years looking for it and finally found it. But this is the promo box set of Molly Hatchet Live.
Yep, that thing's fantastic.
It's impossible to find these days. The price is going up on it, but it's fantastic. And
So
it has 2 copies of the live album. The same exact album, because it was for radio stations, so they had 2 copies of the same. And then also the debut is in here as well. Fantastic little box, though.
Is there a mono version and a stereo version? One for radio, one for...
Nope,
they're both stereo.
They're identical. It just came with two copies. So
and so that they could play, because back in the day they would play whole albums or they would do whole live shows, so they could have it on 2 turntables and just go from one turntable to the next.
Smart.
Yep. And we got a new person here, Will's Rush Page. Welcome. And I'm up, huh? All right, I'm sticking with the thrash metal, man. That's where I was with the first one, so I'm going Hyrax. This is Thrash and Destroy.
Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah, this is really good. And this is live. I think it's live at Keep It True. It's warts and all live recording, which I absolutely love, especially for a thrash album. The band was tight, but there was points where you can hear the rim shot. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of stuff you hear on true live albums, which I think is fantastic. But there's also that part. I don't know if you guys remember this thing or not. But there's a part in the show where somebody started fighting in the front row in front of Kate, and he's like, whoa, stop! And he stops the band's playing stuff, and he just starts, we're brothers in metal, and he just gets on to it, and he's like, if you guys want to fight, he goes, argue about whether it's Metallica or Motorhead, or and he goes into all these this rant. It was fantastic. So I don't know, and it's great stuff too. They do, they have some old stuff on here, but they got a lot of these the tracks from what's the name of the album? I can't remember it. The New Age of Terror, which is my favorite Hyrax album. Of course, Glenn Rogers wrote a lot of that material, so I'm a huge fan of Glenn. So there you go. Thrash and Destroy. This thing's also available on DVD and CD, and I've got all of them. So,
well, they just came out with a new 7-inch.
What's that?
Say they just came out with that new 7-inch.
Yes, they have a brand new 7-inch out. I think it's 4 songs, right? Is it or 3 songs? 3 or 4 songs. And if anybody's looking for copies, it was released in Europe, so they're kind of hard to find in the US. But we actually have, I think, 5 or 10 copies over at NoLifeToMetalRecords.com if anybody wants one. They're not real expensive. So they're there if anybody wants one.
Do you have their tape too?
What's that?
He released the tape earlier on. Yeah,
the tape is really, really, really raw.
Okay.
So it's basically boombox recording bootleg kind of stuff, and that's what it's supposed to be. So,
well, as an ode to Will's Rush Page, a newer listener, I mean, I could have pulled Show of Hands. I could have pulled Exit Stage Left. I could have pulled All the World's a Stage, which is the first time I ever saw Rush live. But I'm to your point, Scott. I've been listening to. I just pulled things that I've been listening to. And I found this Rush Hemispheres Live, and that is live in Tucson, Steve-O, Tucson in 1978.
Where I was birthed.
Of course, that's the classic photo of Rush. And
I was 2 years old when that came out.
Yeah, it's a double.
When that was recorded.
It's a double album, and they delve all the way back to Anthem, Passage to Bangkok, Bytor and the Snow Dogs, Xanadu. I mean, this is a phenomenal record. If you can find it, I'm guessing it's a special pressing from overseas, but the sound quality is great. It's a soundboard recording. So, like I said, I could have pulled the standard cool Rush things, but man, this thing is just a ripper. I really dig this one.
So most of those live shows and radio broadcasts, they aren't technically counterfeits. The bands don't own the music. The radio stations and the TV stations do. So the way they're getting away with it is they're releasing it because they own it. But you'll notice they never put the official logo or official pictures on it. It's always some off logo or something.
Right.
Because they don't own the rights to that. They just own the rights to the recording. So it's kind of gray area. I saw. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Kiss tried to sue a bunch of them and they lost because they don't own the rights to the recordings, even though they own the name and everything. So that's how they're getting around it.
Interesting. All right, who's up? Were we Kevin?
I am. I'm still in the 70s with Rory Gallagher.
What's wrong with that?
Tour.
I almost pulled that one. That's a 10 out of 10 record right there.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I'm going to solo you so we can see it.
I picked this up in Duluth, Minnesota, at a place called The Last Place on Earth, the record store. And it was like a record store, head shop, you name it, they had it. And I was going through there and kind of stuck out. You know, I really, at the time, really wasn't too familiar with Rory Gallagher, but after this, I quickly got acquainted to his rest of his catalog. And still today, they're still coming out with live versions of newer stuff, you know, and it's all really good stuff too. I mean, this is one of his best, to me, one of the best live albums ever.
Right on. Yeah, I like Rory Gallagher. Hey, Carcass, Will's Rush page said that you were correct. It was a 1980 St. Louis show radio broadcast. So there you go.
There you go.
All right, you're up again, Stevie.
Yeah, going to Rory Gallagher. If you guys haven't seen him actually play, Google him live, because he doesn't just bend the strings. He's actually changing the tuning as he's playing.
Yeah,
it's the craziest thing you ever see, and he's one of the greatest. You know, so do a couple of these real quick. So this first one is a little bit off the wall. I've had this on CD since the 90s, and I absolutely love it. But this is Colonel Les Claypool's Fearless Flying Frog Brigade.
Oh, yeah.
So the second disc of this is them playing Wish You Were Here. And it is one of my all-time live performances. I like it better than when I heard Pink Floyd play most of those songs. It is so fucking cool. Les Claypool is amazing on here. This got released for Record Store Day finally, and then it got repressed again on black vinyl, so you can find it for a good price now. But I highly, highly recommend this one. This is fantastic. And somebody mentioned it earlier, so I had to show it. This is one of my all-time favorite live performances as well. This was my favorite band in the 90s, Alice in Chains Unplugged.
That was killer.
Right on.
Yeah.
So Shannon asked about
so should I just go?
No,
just go ahead and go. Because
I already beat you to it.
Well, Live Under Slunky, in my opinion, is their best live album, but we can't forget about Live at the Pong Masters Ball on vinyl. Now, can we? And they have that's the box set, isn't it?
Yes, and it has Live at the Fillmore 1998 in it. And it's a fantastic show.
Did you ever open those shows that I sent you? I think I sent you like 3 or 4 Osric shows a while back that I'd mixed and sent you in a Dropbox or in a.
Oh, then they're still in the Dropbox, and I forgot all about them.
No, they're U-Transfer or the WeTransfer.
Oh, then yeah, I'm sure I haven't. I just forgot about them, but. Anyhow, I'll have to look at them because I forgot.
Well, they're expired. I have to resend them to you, but you need it.
I may have downloaded them. I just didn't listen to them. That's all. I'll have to check.
There you go.
But hey, we also got Aerosmith bootleg, and I didn't pull any Aerosmith because I always pull Aerosmith, and it's just expected of me now.
Wait a minute,
pull Aerosmith, so I didn't.
We're not a real fan,
but I love live bootleg. Live bootleg is actually a mix of, and the reason they called it live bootleg is actually there are some recordings that they purposely recorded for the album, but a lot of it is they just pulled songs off bootlegs, like early stuff. It's a weird mixture of shows because some of it's when they were huge in the 70s, they were playing the big stadiums, so some of it's the big stadium shows, but then they've also got club shows on that same album. So it's weird because the club, you'll go from the large crowd sounds to playing at a club. So
what was that? Wasn't there a Record Store Day thing that got released that was like a live in 70?
Yeah, 74 or 70.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think from a live album standpoint, that thing sounded as good as any live album.
I don't know that it was live. I think it was demos, basically, is what it was.
Oh, is that what it was?
In the studio, but it sounds fantastic. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, didn't pull any Aerosmiths. I know it's surprising, but I did pull another thrash band.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Hades live on location. I've got it on vinyl. This is the German pressing, and I've got it on CD somewhere. Oh, here it is with a terrible cover. There's also another cover. All the covers are bad. None of them are good, but the music is fantastic. It's a full live show. It was supposed to be their farewell show because they had broken up the different bands. The singer and one of the guitar players, Dan Lorenzo, who we've had on the show, they went into nonfiction, and some of the other guys went into other bands. One of them joined Doro Pesch's band at the time. So it was supposed to be the end of the band. Of course, Hades ended up coming back in the late 90s and the 2000s, recording 4 other studio albums. But the German pressing of this album, first of all, the album cover blows. That cover is horrible. Looks like what they did was they took there's like one square of what do you call that?
I thought it was flowers.
It's not. It's a picture of. Oh, here, let me solo myself so you can see it. But there we go. Oh, I soloed you. What's up? I'm new to this stuff, There we go.
Production.
But you see, all they did was it's like there's a strip of a collage.
Oh,
and they just repeated the strip over and over again. And then on 3 of the corners, there's a picture of Alan on the top there. There's a picture of the whole band in the bottom corner there. And then down there is a picture of Dan Lorenzo. It's bad. It's just not good art at all.
Which one was Glenn in? Was he in Hades or Heretic?
Who?
Glenn
Rogers was in Heretic.
Okay.
Heretic.
I always get those two mixed up for some reason.
But anyhow, the vinyl pressing is missing 4 songs, and you do the math on it. You're like, why did they take songs off? It would fit perfectly on a single vinyl, the whole show. So I don't know why they took songs off on this German pressing, but it's still a great show. I tend to listen to the CD more because it's missing songs on here. However, cat out of the bag. Guess what's coming out on vinyl with all the songs on it?
Shockingly, Hades.
Yes, and guess what? It's not coming out on Brutal Planet like all the other ones. It's coming out on No Love to Metal Records later in the early 2025.
And let me
Whose
get
record label is that?
Yeah.
Would it be remastered by Rob Caldwell?
It will be remastered by Rob Caldwell. It will have.
Shocking.
It will be coming out on CD and vinyl, and the vinyl will have all the tracks. The CD will have 2 extra tracks that are studio tracks that were not on there, because even this one here, they recorded 2 new studio tracks on the end of the CD, so those tracks will be on there as well as 2 other tracks on the CD. So
Cool.
and yeah, I'm a big Hades fan. You all know that. So New Jersey band, I grew up with them. So yeah, I love Hades. So there you go.
We've already talked about
about
Hendrix, but I left this one out. The Live at Rainbow Bridge, killer deal. And
That was
speaking
in
of
Hawaii, right?
Yeah, I've
yeah,
got that
Hawaii.
watched that
But
show.
speaking of Hendrix worship, somebody used to one of my friends used to call this the White Hendrix. I think he's just Frank Marino.
Yep.
And,
Frank Marino.
But
hey,
this
Look
is
what I pulled.
and dude, that thing right there.
and
you
volume.
You got to get the Blu-ray set because it's just. I thought, gosh, there's so
Isn't
much
that a
good
record
here.
store
It's
based
going to wear me out. No,
What's that?
Was that a record store day one? I know there's a couple that were record store day.
Yeah, volume.
this is a record store day one.
Good. They're fantastic.
I got
Yeah.
both of them too.
yeah, they're awesome. So
Still, my favorite one is Strange Universe, Mahogany Rush. Though.
Well, and in Strange Universe, he still was doing the Hendrix thing. That one is straight up Hendrix. Even the way he enunciated his words.
yeah,
was
that's
the-
Electric Ladyland all over again.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, if someone said, "Hey, you sound like Hendrix," I would be like, "Okay, thanks, appreciate that." Okay. Anyway, go ahead, Seven Witches. You're up.
I'm going to go with my Iced Earth here.
Oh, somebody mentioned that. That is a killer live record.
This is the 20th anniversary box set. So trying to get the original is virtually, it's not impossible, but it's definitely high priced. $200-300 for the original set.
Yeah, they have a Blu-ray version of that that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they got actually a couple of these. Live in Korean is actually a good live album from them too. But to me, this is their pinnacle live album. I mean,
Agreed.
it's just, I mean, there's 3 discs in here, and I mean, it's just loaded full.
That was during the Days of Purgatory, right? That was that tour, or horror. What is it? Horror show.
Dark Saga era, right in that
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I pulled Iced Earth too, but I pulled a different one. I love that album, but I also like this one, the Bang Your Head Festival one. There you go.
yeah.
Steve
Uh-oh.
pulled it too.
This is
Only on
fantastic.
CD too.
This is
killer.
fantastic. It's really well recorded. The band is tight. The vocals are just superb.
That
It's a
one was
great
kind
recording.
of hard to find though. I found it. I think I was the one that told you about that.
You can
Yeah,
only
I think
buy
he
it
did.
through his. He did it through his website. He was trying. It's when he was in trouble, so he was trying to get money for his legal defense. So he put this out, and man, it's really good. I wish
I'm
he had
hoping
done
it's
it
gonna-
on vinyl.
I'm hoping it's well. That's. I'm hoping it's going to come out on vinyl too.
Do you have another
We'll see.
announcement, Scott?
No, I don't have an. I don't really have an announcement. I just heard a rumor that's happening. However, right now is he's dealing with it. He's actually his court cases now, so he's dealing with all that mess right now.
Yeah.
So,
It's so
But the
disgusting.
second court case, he had already pled guilty, and now they're trying to make him pay for all the damage to the White House or to the Capitol building. So
which he'd had nothing to do with.
yeah, they're coming after his money now, which is crazy. But so my next, somebody mentioned this one too, so I pulled this one out. Tokyo Tapes. I've always loved this one.
Classic.
We've all talked about this one before. This is a lot of purists hate this, but this is by far the best Judas Priest live album, and it's '98 Live Meltdown.
I'm not going to argue that point.
Ripper just murders this thing. It's so
good. His version of come on, the Joan Baez cover song.
Yeah.
Diamonds and Rust.
Thank you. Diamonds and Rust is his vocals are incredible. Yeah, that Tokyo Tapes is awesome. I have like 3 different versions of it.
Yeah.
On vinyl, and then like 2 different versions on CD. It's ridiculous.
But
anyhow, sorry.
And you got Burning Hell on here, which I just saw with KK's Priest. That's a fantastic song too. Again, no Cathedral Spires, but
yeah, I love that song. I really wish I'd love to hear it with Halford. But hey, let's get to a couple comments real quick before we get. So, did Resisting Success ever get reissued? Still looking for that one. It did not get reissued. There are vinyl copies floating around. It needs to be reissued. Yep. However, the other 4, the Metal Blade years, all got reissued. Matter of fact, I got one. This is not one that I worked on, but here's the one of them that just came out not too long ago. Damnation. So. Let's see. Next comment. Pantera official live 100 proof. I couldn't tell you much about that one. Pantera. Pantera. I'm more of a passive fan than I am of a lot of bands. So
some of their stuff is, when they were really like inebriated, chemically soaked, etc. There were some really bad shows, but it seemed like they were coming into their own for that, or they made it sound better because that thing really is a good.
When Phil is sober, he's one of the best frontmen out there. But man, when he was on heroin, he could barely talk. He would get some lyrics out and start babbling. I mentioned that when I saw him 2 years ago. It blew away both times I saw him in the '90s because both times he was trashed.
Yeah,
so,
he's a different person now that he's cleaned up and healthy, and has a solid direction in his life. But yeah, you're right. He's a pretty amazing dude.
So Integrity is talking about the '98 Ripper. They also released the Live in London. That's really good too.
Yeah,
the Live in London.
London is really good.
And yeah, I agree. Sword 87 is a cool one too. That one actually was released just recently, right? If I'm not mistaken, on the new Combat Records that's owned by Dave Ellefson.
Yeah, I grabbed that one.
Mark Massacre from Down Under.
Yes, the Hades are all on Brutal Planet. So, yep. All right, where are we? You're up again, Carcass.
Oh, well, I thought everybody would pull this Grand Funk Live. But
thought about it. Didn't.
I couldn't really not mention Cotton.
Yeah, they're both good.
And I used to kind of I waved this thing off, and then Henry Vasquez over at Born Late was playing it in the store, and I said, "Is that Cotton the Act?" And he said, "Yeah." And it was. I mean, after I heard the long live version of Black Licorice, I was sold. This thing is equal to the original live album. But I tell you that to tell you this. I have a creeper that's so creepy that you probably won't believe me. Sammy Hagar singing with Metallica live. at the Fillmore. 2002, May 7th, 2002. It's Michael Anthony, Lars Ulrich, Kirk Hammett, and Sammy Hagar. And they do, let's see if I got a track listing here or not. No, it's a special pressing.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
on Red. But if you can find it, buy it, because it sounds great, and it's very interesting to hear what Metallica might sound like if they had Sammy Hagar singing, because I think he can sing in just about any band and make them better. But except, honestly, I liked Van Halen with David Lee Roth. I'm going to admit that right now.
Same.
Anyway.
You bet.
I don't think it was. I don't really honestly think that it was Sammy Hagar. That it was just they went into a poppier direction, and I just wasn't into that popular direction. That's all.
Because I've been on a Van Halen bender today. But anyway,
you're up again, Kevin.
All right, we are going to go in more Blue Oyster Cult here.
Nice. I'm going to solo you so we can see it.
A Long Day's Night. This is actually recorded in Chicago on their, I believe it was their Navy Pier. God, I'm trying to remember what year this was, but anyway. This version does not have the live Last Days of May, whereas I believe it's the cassette, live version of the cassette, or it might be the Blu-ray that has the live version of Last Days of May. This does not have it on there, and I was disappointed they didn't put it on this. And that's a fantastic song. One of my favorite Buck Dharma guitar solos was on there. I mean, just a fantastic release. And the concert itself is really good.
Oh man, we're running out of time. Go ahead, Steve. You're up again.
I'll show a few since we're running out of time, but let's see. This was talked about, but I pulled it. I actually pulled it because I'm going to listen to it when we're done here. I was just in the mood for it, but somebody mentioned Live and Dangerous, so I'm going to spin that later. Kiss. A couple people mentioned Alive. Alive 2 is actually my favorite. And it's more because of the set list than anything. I love both of them. I like the set list of this one better because you have an additional album in here. So that one's always been a favorite of mine. This was a record store day a few years ago, and this thing is fantastic if you can find it. This is another one where the price shot up, but this is recorded October 4th at New York City. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And, man, this thing is killer. But the main one I wanted to show is everybody talks about Live After Death, or Life After Death as their as the ultimate Iron Maiden live show, and I've never been as big a fan of that as I have of this one. Beast over Hammersmith, I think, is one of the greatest live shows of all time. I was so happy when they finally put this on vinyl because this thing is fantastic. I've had the CD copy for like 25 years. But man, this is just a killer show. So.
Nice. Well, speaking of, I went and while I had you sold it, I ran off to grab the first Montrose album because this reissue, which the cover art is horribly done, but it's got a second
Live at the Record Plant.
Yeah, it's got an entire show from 1973. It was actually the first show the band ever played together. It's good. It's a jam. I really liked it. I was surprised. I kind of expected it to be crap. I can't remember what big band was supposed to play and then backed out the last minute. So they called Montrose in. They're like, "You guys want to do the show?" And so they did it. And yeah, this thing's fantastic. But I pulled that just because we were talking about Sammy Hagar. But I'm going back to the metal again because this is one of my all-time favorite ones. And I grew up with this band. They were a local band when I was a kid, and they had all these 7-inch and 12-inch singles that came out with Live at the Marquee on the different B-sides of all these 12 inches. And those live tracks were just so over the top and heavy and crazy live. They were just, I don't know how to explain it. They were just young, raw, and very much a bunch of nutcases, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that in a bad way. They were just obviously having fun. And honestly, some of Dee's in-between song banter is as entertaining as the songs themselves. And this is all stuff from the first two albums. So a lot of this stuff is fast and heavy. People pretty much know this band from We're Not Going to Take It and that kind of anthem kind of stuff. But those first two Twisted Sister albums, they were fast and heavy. And very much different than anything else that was really out there. So anyhow, I love this album. I really like I actually have a bootleg that has just the B-sides from all the different 12 inches put in the order that they came out, which I really love that. This is the actual show, so it's a little different. And then there's also this version that I've had for a long time. I keep it in this little weird cardboard thing, but it's a CD inside that Twisted Sister logo of the full one of the full shows from that night, because they played 2 nights in a row at the Marquee Club. Just raw. They were young. They were hungry. They still hadn't really made it yet. They had just gotten on Atlantic Records, and they were just on fire.
Okay. Well, when I was a lot younger, most of my buddies didn't like live records for some strange reason. I don't know why, but I always. And I think Steve, you mentioned it earlier that sometimes the live version sounds way better than the album version. And I can probably point at Ted Nugent, who's one of my favorite, and those first 2 are iconic. But I think his live stuff was better. That I actually after seeing him live. But here's one of those that's probably just like that. Led Zeppelin. The song remains the same. This is the Japanese pressing, and it's 4 LPs. Okay, this is the entire show. Rock and Roll, Celebration Day, Over the Hills and Far Away, Misty Mountain Hop, Since I've Been Loving You, The Ocean, The Song Remains the Same, The Rain Song, No Quarter, Dazed and Confused, Moby Dick, Stairway to Heaven, Heartbreaker, and A Whole Lot of Love. It's the whole Madison Square Garden experience. And I've got the DVD, and I've got the Blu-ray, and I've got the VHS, and I've got the Laserdisc, you believe. But anyway, I found this at a bookstore up in Denton, which is a little college town north of me, and it's still sealed. And I want to open it and listen to it because I want to hear how it sounds, but I already know it sounds wonderful. But that was another creeper for me, like I said. And I would play this for my friends, and they'd go, "Well, I guess live albums aren't so bad." That's because they sounded. There was no tricks to it. It was a live record.
I almost pulled that too. I have the 2 CD, the mini LP version from Japan on CD of the full show.
Oh, that's right. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, Seagull Rock Squawk, who he suggested Iron Maiden's Born Again Sabbath, which is freaking fantastic. I actually saw that tour with Quiet Riot opening at the Spectrum, and yeah, that was fantastic, man. His voice was just on. I don't know. You've heard the Born Again record. He's just screaming. He's fantastic. So anyhow. Good one.
All right, must be me again, huh?
It's you.
I went with UFO. This is actually our record store day release. I think Scott.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that one.
I'm mad. I'm taking you off the air.
Oh. Anyway, I picked this up. I think this came out in 2020, I believe. But this one this also came out too.
Yeah, I've got that one.
This
is 10-inch.
This is not a live, but this is just a studio version from what was it? From Strangers in the Night. So
yeah,
but
actually, yeah, it is. But yeah, these are kind of hard to find nowadays. But
you can find them. Everybody they want $200 for them, but
yep. But fantastic. I remember. I can't remember who I was. I think it was Bill Waters. Or not Bill Waters, but Bill Peters mentioned this, and I kind of went and searched it out and found it, so got lucky.
Yeah, I actually had someone go into all the record stores in 3 different states, and none of them got it. So,
yeah, Kevin sent me. Was it Lights Out in Chicago that you sent me, Kevin, a couple months ago?
Yes.
Yeah, that thing's that's fantastic.
A good one too.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the one. I had a couple extra ones.
Yeah,
I got to say though, this that show is on this.
Yeah, all of those are from the box set. They're just releasing them one at a time here and there.
Yep.
So I'll go through a couple here real quick because we're coming up on the deadline. But since you mentioned Twisted Sister, I pulled Live at the Hammersmith in '84.
Oof, that's a good one.
Another killer show. It's also got a couple tracks from Detroit in '79. People forget they were a legit working class band. They were around for a decade before they got signed. So there's live shows from 75, 76 of them that are fantastic too, if you can find them. Another one, this is one that I was shocked. I picked it up at a dollar store and it was so good. I found another copy to send to Scott. This may be the best thing that Dokken ever released, but this is from Conception, live in '81. This thing, I think, is better than their first few studio albums. This thing is just fantastic. They sounded good. What's funny is I've heard Dokken from the late 70s. I didn't think they sounded good at all, but they had put it all together for this show right here.
That one's in honor of Rob.
Yeah, of Rob Caldwell.
Yeah.
Next one, a lot of people don't know about this one. This was originally a side project, a little side live thing that turned into an actual band, but it's the Snakes, and it's Bernie Marsden and Mickey Moody. They did this one. This is live in Europe. This was their first release, and it's basically them doing covers, White Snake covers. But then after that, they released an actual album from the Snakes, and they're both really good. And then last, I had to show at least one Dio. This is Last in Live. This is a fantastic show.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This is towards the end. So you've got stuff from Strange Highways, which is a favorite of mine. Just killer show. Any of these Dios that you find, I don't know what it is about Dio. They're all really well recorded. I haven't found a bootleg or an unofficial. This is an official, but I haven't found any bootlegs or unofficials of his that sound like shit. For some reason, they all sound really, really good. So there we go, a little Dio.
Right on. I'm gonna crank through some more of mine before we get to Carcass again too. But I've shown this one before, but I do play this thing quite a bit. I love this album.
Oh, that is a killer one.
Ultimate Revenge 2.
Live
album.
Angel.
I've got the CD and the vinyl, but yeah, it's Forbidden and Faith or Fear and Death and Dark Angel and Raven. So yeah, it's a spectacular. I've never even actually. I don't know if I've seen it. Like, it may have been a long time ago, but I don't actually own the VHS. I can't even remember if I've seen it or not. But the music is just fantastic. I listen to the CD all the time. The CD has one or two more tracks than the vinyl has on it, by the way. How about this one?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Wait, you bet.
Slade Alive. It's a classic rock. I mean, it's one of the greatest of all time. This is a new one I just got, but I played it 3 times already. I'm really enjoying it. But I've also been kind of on a kick with this band. But this is Mata Hoople live at the Hammersmith, 1973. And this thing is you can get it on Amazon fairly inexpensively right now. It's a quality show. I mean, it sounds good. It's got a fantastic set list, 2-album set. I assume it sounds like it was recorded for an album, just maybe never released, because it's not like all compressed and stuff, like it was like a radio broadcast or something like that. But I don't know. Anyhow, yeah, it's fantastic. But like I said, I've been kind of on a Mata Hoople kick over the past, and Ian Hunter as well. Here's one that I think is one of the greatest of all time that you don't hear about very often anymore. It's short, but sometimes short albums are perfect. That's kind of how I see this one.
I think it's played here, ironically, and I think there's one original member left.
Yep.
Roger Earl. But everybody else.
But they were sold out. It was a little tiny venue, like a 500 cap room, but it was packed.
Yep. How about?
Oh yeah, that's a great one too.
Go for What You Know live, some Pat Travers.
I was looking for that and I couldn't find it.
Actually, I was on the phone. You all know who Glenn Rogers is, right? I was on the phone with Glenn Rogers just before the show, and he said, "What's the show about today?" And I said, "Oh, it's live albums." He goes, "Oh, you got to show Pat Travers." He goes, "That's an album." He goes, "He's just spectacular." And he said, "The band is, yeah. I mean, you got what? Tommy Aldridge on drums,
Mars Cowling,
Mars Cowling, and Pat Thrall." So yeah, this band was just on fire then. So. All right, I'm almost through. Ready? I think I showed you guys this one beforehand, but I'm going to solo myself because it's a CD. And solo out. There we go. So this is a new King's X live in London, 3-disc set. So it's got 2 CDs of live material and then a DVD. It's got 3 collector's cards, and it's in this kind of little thing.
Slipcase.
Yeah, it's a nice package, and it sounds fantastic. Guess who did the mastering for this?
Oh, would that be Rob Cole? We had somebody ask about Rob.
Yep, and Rob. So someone asked if Rob is out of the show. Rob is taking a break for a while because he's focusing on that what is it called? 198 dB. Is that what it is? I always forget the number.
No, 128 dB rock.
128 dB rock. So he's focusing on that. He actually has a show, I think, every day on that.
Yeah, every
right?
day from 3 to 4.
But he will be back for sure in about 5 episodes. So for episode 250, so he'll be back for that. So yeah, he'll be back. He's just needed a break to focus on some other stuff, including his work. So anyhow, a few more real quick.
Oh, dude,
Live Insurrection.
That's fantastic.
This is it's just great. Even
I
though
need to order those Halford reissues that just came out because I really want the Halford stuff. I think blows away the fight stuff, but nobody ever talks about the Halford records.
I like them both. I like Fight and Halford. I like the simplicity of the fight stuff. It's just, anyhow, moving on because we're running out of time. How about this one? Fate's Warning.
Oh, yeah.
This is another one that's kind of it's kind of like the, like the King's X one I just showed with the multiple discs. It's got the entire, they play the entire Awaken the Guardian album live, and then it's actually has, John Ark on vocals. So they do a lot of other songs, and there's like more than one show on here too. So this thing is fantastic. I've listened to this thing multiple times. How about this came out just recently, Anthrax.
I haven't seen that one.
It's good. It's tight. The band just sounds fantastic on here.
They're one of those bands that every time I've seen them, I've never seen a bad Anthrax show, and I've seen them a bunch of times. Even when they've done 30, 40-minute sets, it was tight, and they always sounded good.
And then here's my last one.
Yeah, I thought about pulling that. I haven't even opened it yet. I haven't listened to it.
I've opened it. Not only have I opened it, but I played every show on here. So this is just like the UFO one I showed earlier, where it's got the original album on it, but it also has all the shows that the original album was culled from. So,
and that actually proves, though, because I have heard them all. That kind of everybody said that the actual album was heavily edited, but when you hear the actual live shows, they sound pretty good. It's not edited the way people think it is.
Nope.
And I did forget one. I forgot. I had this one pulled too, and I forgot to show it.
Oh, that's a good one.
I wanted to show that one real quick too.
All right, Carcass, you're up again.
Okay, I agree with Mark Massacre. That Obituary Dead is freaking killer. Okay, kind of like the earlier mention of the Toxic Holocaust.
Oh man,
this is the UK pressing, and in that UK pressing is a live album, and it's fantastic. So. Bolt Thrower for Victory, but the Euro pressing, you got to have the Euro pressing, you don't get the live album. This is something that just recently came out, Immortal, the seventh day of Black Shura, or however you say that, but this thing sounds absolutely amazing.
When's that from? Does it have a bath on it?
2007, live at Wacken Open Air. And I missed them by a year, but I've seen them live before. I saw them actually in San Antonio with Absu opening up, and that thing, it rules. And I don't care what Fraser Dawson says. I don't care that you don't care about Immortal. I love Immortal.
When I first heard Immortal in, what was it, 96 or 90, whenever they first came out, I had a buddy that he had his own black metal distro. So we knew about a lot of the black metal bands before anybody else did through that. But he got one of the promos of the Immortal debut. That was some of the fastest drums I had ever heard in my life at that point.
And they were a little noisy, like most of those early black metal bands. But by the time they put out Damned in Black and Sons of Northern Darkness, well, Age of Winter is probably my favorite Immortal of all time. But even the first Aboth sounds like Immortal, which I really dig. So anyway, I know we're out of time. So I've been on a Blood Incantation kick. Not a lot of people have this. I bought this from the band. This is live Vitrification. It's one side completely live, like a unique track that's not on any album, and then the other side is like printed, like silkscreen, and it's got the little silkscreen baby, a live shot, all the tour dates. But anyway, live Vitrification, Blood Incantation. Like I said. Like Steve said, it may be the album of the year. For me, it definitely is the album of the year. This was like an Australian. Was this an Australian pressing? No, this was just a worldwide deal. But anyway, the first time I ever saw them on Starspawn tour, they had these. So anyway, that's my stack. And we can go on because...
Well, yeah, Don Johnson said Genesis Seconds Out. I almost pulled that one. Only reason I didn't is because we mostly focus on, metal and hard rock, and I was like, I'm gonna stick to more metal this time. Somebody asked about Overkill. Nope, we didn't show any Overkill. Again, another one I almost pulled, but we only pulled a few each.
Some of those are just punishing. What's the live one in Germany? Was that
Wrecking Your Neck, wrecking everything live?
But the more recent one, the live in Germany one,
live in
yeah.
That's a killer one.
That was 4 LPs if you get both of them. And man, yeah, I actually I picked up a signed copy of that at their last show. They were selling the signed.
And then
one.
Doors Absolutely Live. I also agree with that one. I'm not a huge Doors fan. I do like the Doors, but I have that one, and it actually is the one I listen to the most because I just thought they were great live. And then Heaven and Hell Live at Radio City. That's another one I almost pulled. I think that's fantastic. The version of I on there is crushingly heavy.
Yep.
I want to mention that live Death Angel too that came out the year before last. Man, that's an amazing live album too. So if you see that one, pick it up. It's pretty cheap.
And I actually meant to show this one. I forgot, but this is the BBC Thin Lizzy collection. It's two CD. This is on Amazon right now, really cheap. I mean, like well under $20. So if anybody's interested in this, I don't know if it's on vinyl or not. I only see the CD on Amazon, but I grabbed 2 copies because they were inexpensive, and I picked up one for myself and one for a friend of mine. So in another country because he couldn't get it out there. So anyhow, yeah, like I said, that's on Amazon. So that's it. Man, that was a whirlwind of records.
That was a whirlwind.
But anyhow, that was episode number 245. And we like we said, we have episode 250 coming up, and we're gonna all get our tuxes. Unfortunately, I got to say that the president and the vice president, they all backed out. So, and I know I promised my grandma, but she passed away several years ago, so I can't do that either. So we'll get some different other people on. Maybe we'll bring on Carcass's wife, and maybe she'll come on and say hi. Maybe not.
Like, trust me, dude. She's way more metal than 90% of the people out there.
Yes, she is. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why you call her the Metal Queen.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of which, you can find Steve where?
Harmless Rebel on YouTube or harmless_rebel on Instagram.
And Kevin?
You can catch me, Old Metal Rocker 65 on YouTube, and Kevin Coley's on Facebook.
Yep.
And you can find me at 128 DB Rock in the Crypt on Saturday and Sunday nights now from 10 to midnight, and at Carcass John Art on Instagram, or you can just send me an email, carcassjohn@hotmail.com. And Scott Waters, you can find him anywhere. All you have to do is type in Scott Waters, and boom, the world just opens up to you just like that.
Right on. So that's it for episode number 245. So you guys know how we do it. Kevin, stick around after the ping-ongs. You don't stick around. So that's it for episode number 245, talking about live albums. So for all of us, we want to say metal will prevail. And then this is where I leave you all hanging and, figure out where the stuff that I'm supposed to have looked at before we got to this point.